everyone, this is Neha from Crescent Creation. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm creating this spooky slimline card using products from Kindred Stamps. Off camera, I have stamped all the images from the stamp set called Salem Sisters from Kindred Stamps' August release. I stamped them using Copic-friendly black ink as I'm going to go ahead and use Copic markers to color these images. And now I'm going to go ahead and put some music for you to enjoy the coloring. If you do not want to watch the coloring video, you can skip forward for the process video of the card. Here I'm almost done coloring. Once done off camera, I'll go ahead and fuzzy cut these images out using my scan and cut. Now for the sentiment on this card, I'm using this die cut, which is from the new release from Kindred Stamps that says, "I put a spell on you." I die cut this out of white cardstock, and now I am heat embossing this using the Embossing Whites embossing powder from Kindred Stamps. I directly went with the embossing ink pad on top of the die cut, and then I poured the embossing powder, and then I heat set it off camera. Once I'm done with my first layer of embossing, I'm going back with the ink pad, adding clear ink to the die cut, then pouring more embossing powder, and then I'll heat set it again. And that just gives me a very beautiful glittery die cut sentiment. I repeated the same process with the other part of the sentiment die cut. Once my sentiment was ready, now it's time to work on the background. For my background, here I have a piece of white cardstock that measures 3 1/4 by 8 1/4 inches, and I'm using some Distress Oxide inks to ink up my background. I went first with the Dusty Concord, and now I'm going with Seedless Preserve Distress Oxide ink, and then I'm going back and forth between the colors to get a good blend between them. Next, I'm using Ripe Persimmon Distress Oxide ink here. Purple and orange when mixed together makes brown. So be careful while blending these two colors together. You don't want to blend them too much and end up with a brown muddy color. Next, I'm going with Carved Pumpkin Distress Oxide ink just after the Ripe Persimmon, and now I'm blending the Ripe Persimmon and Carved Pumpkin ink together to get a good blend. Lastly, I'm coming in with Mustard Seed Distress Oxide ink and just covering the complete bottom of this panel. And here I'm just blending the colors, going back and forth between that Carved Pumpkin and Mustard Seed to get a good blend. You can see I've got a little boo-boo there just at the bottom of the panel, but I'm not worried about it because it's gonna get hidden later. Next, I'm splattering this whole panel using some water and my paintbrush. I'll leave it for a few seconds and then blot it dry using a paper towel. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add some Black Soot Distress Oxide ink just towards the top of the panel to give it a more night sky look. Next, I've smooshed some black soot ink on an acrylic block, and now I'm going to go ahead and splatter this panel all over, and that finishes my background. For the bottom of my panel, I wanted to add some hills, so here I have a white cardstock strip, and using my scissors I'm fuzzy cutting out 2 hillside border. Once done fuzzy cutting, I'll ink these out using ground espresso Distress Oxide ink. Now that everything is ready, it's time to assemble my card. I'm directly adhering my first hillside border towards the bottom of my panel and trimming off the excess using my scissors. For the next layer, I'm adding some double-sided tape to the very bottom of the panel and gluing the second hillside border, and then I'll go ahead and cut out the excess using my scissors. To glue the sentiment, I die cut 2 extra sentiment out of white and black cardstock. And now I'm gluing all the 3 together, offsetting them a little bit. So the first is the embossed die cut, and then the white one, and lastly the black one. Once I've glued all the 3 sentiment die cuts together, I'll put it aside to dry and now work on gluing the images. I'm gluing the 2 images on either side using some liquid glue, and for the third one I'll add some foam tape behind it and then glue it to the center. Next, I'll go ahead and glue the sentiment die cut towards the top of my panel using some liquid glue. And that almost finishes my card. I'm going to go ahead and glue this card front to my card base that measures 8.5 by 3.5 inches. Lastly, I'll go ahead and add some purple mixed sequins from my stash all over the card front. And that finishes my card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Here are a few more videos that you might like to watch. Thank you for visiting. Have a nice day.